Hey guys, welcome back. My daughter is taking a nap after church. She thought falling asleep in the car for some reason. I don't know, usually it knocks her right out, but I was actually very happy that she is taking a nap because I really wanted to share some things um, about today and church. So, if you've been following along at all in my journey, whether currently or if you find my videos in the future, you'll know that I have a very hard time with church. The biggest reason I have a hard time with, well, the two biggest reasons. The one is it's a Spanish speaking church. So the only time that there's translation in English is during the sermon. That's it. The music is in Spanish. Anytime the pastor talks or anyone talks, it's all Spanish. Um, and when we have like get-togethers for the church and this and that, it's all Spanish. So it's a little difficult for me because I don't know Spanish. I know very little. And side note, I've prayed about this to God and I've asked him, I'm like, why am I going to this church? Shouldn't I be going to like an English church? And he's like, no, I want you going to this church. And one of the things he actually wants me to work on is to learn Spanish. So I know he has like a plan. I'm just not following through with my part, which is to work on learning Spanish. So it's on me, you know. But number two, besides it being a Spanish speaking church, number two is I have difficulty with being vulnerable. So I just realized right now, while I was putting my daughter for a nap, I was thinking about it. And I get really, really angry sometimes at church. I get angry, I get agitated, I get frustrated, I get just angry. And I don't understand it. And this has been happening. I've been going to church consistently for about a year now. And then it just hit me right now. When I was thinking about it. And I'm assuming it was God that helped me to this realization. But I've noticed that with myself, when I'm not wanting to deal with something, especially like an emotion like sadness or just frustration or just whatever, or like being vulnerable. When I'm not wanting to be vulnerable, I get angry. I turn to anger because then when I'm angry, I can deal with that and push away the emotions that are trying to come out, the feelings that are trying to come out. Um, and so at church, I was like wanting to cry. As soon as we got there, I was like, what is wrong with me? It's just as soon as we got there, I started to want to cry. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then, so clearly something was coming up that wanted to come out, but I was fighting it. And then we're getting towards the end of worship where the last song or two is really like slow and calm. I don't know what the words are saying though, because it's in Spanish. And I'm like, I feel myself kind of shutting myself down and not wanting to deal with whatever's coming up and cry. So instead, I'm looking around and I'm getting angry about the way certain people are acting or doing things. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Now, at this current moment, I understand why I'm doing that, but in the moment, I didn't. Then my daughter, my beautiful little 2 year old, sorry, she looks at me and starts kissing me and hugging me, and I couldn't hold it in anymore. I started crying a little bit. And the first things that started to come to my mind was how grateful I was for my daughter and how sorry I was to God for being so ungrateful with the things in my life. So currently, my husband and I and our daughter, we're living with my in-laws, and we've been here for 2 years now. And lately, I've done nothing but complain and be frustrated with things that really aren't that big of a deal instead of embracing my situation and just being grateful for my situation. Now, I'm doing both. I have days and moments where I'm grateful, and then I have this other part of me that's like, yeah, I'm grateful, but I'm frustrated about this. And they're constantly fighting those parts of me. are constantly fighting. And if I had to explain it the best I could, I would feel like it's my spirit and my soul that's like feeling good and positive and grateful. And then it's like my flesh and the enemy that is like fighting that. And I feel like they're both of them are just they're just fighting each other right now. And it's just this battle that just never ends. And my first thought when I started to break down and cry was how sorry I was to God for being so ungrateful and being so like negative and frustrated with my situation when my situation isn't bad at all. I'm just nitpicking. I'm getting frustrated with things that really aren't important. And I don't know how to like get out of this funk. And every time I pray about it, God's like, okay, I want you to work on these 5 things and you will start to feel better. Now, also, if you've been following along, you'll know the 5 things that God's been wanting me to work on are in this order 1 through 5. Um, Fixing my diet, getting healthier with what I eat and drink. And then 2, exercise. 3, being more disciplined with reading and studying the Bible every day, getting up in the morning, starting my day with prayer. And then 4 is working on these. I have a separate YouTube channel where I actually do food videos. It's more fun and, light than this channel. And then number 5 is learning Spanish. Now, I have been fighting doing these 5 things. And every time I pray and tell God I'm frustrated and I'm upset or I'm feeling lost or I'm feeling angry, he just says the same thing, to work on these 5 things and I will start to feel better. It'll like, these are the 5 things he wants me to focus on right now. And so I'm like, okay, I know that, but actually doing it is like hard. But anyways, I just wanted to share like the feeling I was getting at church, because until today I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why I would get so angry at church and why I would get so like, it's because I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to deal with what is coming up. And so I turn to anger. And the more that builds, it just, throughout the day, I'm agitated, I'm frustrated, I'm irritable, I snap at people, I'm just annoyed all day. And it's just because all of that is building up and I'm not dealing with it and sitting with it and facing it. And I feel like when I come to church, for some reason, it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like as soon as I get to church and walk in and go to our seats, whatever's coming up that I've been pushing away just starts to like come immediately to the surface. And God is like, I feel like God's saying, give it to me, lean on me. So they were doing the worship songs in the beginning. They're more hyper, not hyper, but like they're more fun and, awesome. And you clap and all this stuff, right? It's more upbeat. And all I could think about was how everyone else around me is like praising Jesus, praising God and their love, and all this stuff and happiness. And I just wanted to cry. And I felt like God was like telling me, like, it's okay. Like, if you don't want to praise me right now, that's okay. I'm here for like whatever you need. Like, if you need to lean on me and cry right now at this moment, no one's going to judge you. And, well, good old fashioned Sarah, I shoved that down real quick. But, that's something I have to work on, is being vulnerable and not being scared to be vulnerable and embrace, especially embrace what happens to me at church, because it's like at church, it's like, it's like almost like, have you ever met someone where they just know when something's off with you? And you can tell, like, as soon as you see them, they're like, are you okay? And it makes you want to bawl and cry and just tell them everything that you're feeling, because you can't like hide it from them. I felt like that's what happens. I feel like that's what happens to me at church. As soon as I get there, I feel like God can just sense and see what's going on underneath. And he has a way of just bringing it to the surface without me even like realizing it or asking it. It's like it's like walking into church and going to our seats is just like, I feel like it's God's way of like, okay, come on, like open up to me, tell me what's going on. Like I open up to him in prayer, a private, I do. But there's something about his presence at church is different. It's like it's like as soon as I walk in, it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's just different than when I pray alone. When I pray alone, it's more me seeking him. And then when I'm at church, it's more like I'm walking to like he's like already there. Does that make sense? I hope I'm saying this correctly and that I'm not alone in what I'm saying, because I'm still trying to just figure church out. I'm still just trying to figure out church in general. And I think the fact that I'm at a Spanish speaking church is not helping my journey, but I know that God has me there for a reason. And I know that I just need to do my part in what God is asking me to work on, and that's to learn Spanish. And I know from there things will get a lot better. I think I'm making it harder on myself because I'm not doing what He's asking me to do. So, I don't know. I just wanted to share that because I don't really get to make a video very often after church. And a lot of the times things happen and I don't really get to tell you guys in real time how I'm feeling. Because you know how once you go through something, you feel a certain way, but then when you retell it later, you don't tell all the details because you kind of forget, or the moment's passed, or you're trying to shorten the story. So it's just kind of like I felt like when my daughter was going to take a nap, I was like, okay, good, because I felt like this was something I really needed to share because you know I feel like it's important to go to church, but I also feel like people don't really talk enough about how their experiences and what it's like to go to church. I feel like a lot of people just put on a smile, they show up, they do their thing, then they go home. They don't really like put a lot of like effort and emphasis into church. And I'm trying to understand church. I'm trying to understand why God is wanting me there. I'm trying to understand so that I can embrace church in the fullest, and especially and embrace it in a way that God intends for it to be embraced. I feel like a lot of people go to church and they're not embracing it the way that God is wanting us to. And I'm trying to be like, understand, like I really want to understand, why do we go to church? What are we doing there? What's it for? Like, what are we supposed to be doing while there? How are we supposed to be, feeling? What's right? What's wrong? What is God's intentions and what does He want from us? And while we're at church and all this stuff. And I'm really trying to understand, you know, instead of just following along and being like, oh, this is what we do on Sundays. We get dressed, we dress nice, we go to church, we praise God, and then we listen to a sermon, we get some food after, hang out, and then go home. Like, I want to understand really like what we're doing there and why. And I feel like on days like today, when I had that understanding in my head, I was having a conversation in my head trying to figure out why I was so angry. When I realized, thanks to God, that that anger is because I'm avoiding dealing with whatever's coming up emotion wise. I have to work on that. I have to work on being vulnerable and not running away from an emotion that's coming up, or something, feelings, whatever. So I thought I'd share. Sorry guys, I know I talk a lot sometimes in the beginning, but that is the point. The point is to share my journey on what it's really like day to day, getting to know God and bringing him into my life and getting to know him through prayer and reading the Bible, and what it's really been like reading the Bible for the first time, bringing God into my life. I didn't have God in my life at all. I didn't believe in him up until like a year and a half ago. So, you know, I hope that if you found my videos that you're not skipping the beginning, because that's where I share a lot of my journey. And then at the end of my videos is where I'm more sharing what my thoughts on the Bible chapters for the day. I know it doesn't always go that way every day, but that's generally how my videos are. And I just want to make sure you guys know that that's also part of it. Is I'm trying to be really honest and vulnerable and share what it's really, really actually like going down this journey. Because a lot of people, you hear their testimonies or you see them change, but you don't really get a lot of insight into what that journey was really like. You see a comment on a video on YouTube, oh yeah, I was an alcoholic and on drugs and homeless and all this stuff, and now I'm married and have children and I'm great and I have a financial breakthrough and all this stuff. And it's like, that's great. But what did that actually look like? I feel like sometimes, as beautiful as those testimonies are, I feel like sometimes they sell a fairy tale that's not real. I'm not taking away from those testimonies because I think they're beautiful, and my testimony is going to be like that as well. But I think it's important to also share a little bit of the journey along the way, because it's not like you just wake up one day, God snaps his fingers, and you went from this to this. It's not like that. And I feel like that's where a lot of people who are just, coming to God or trying to give him a chance get lost, because they feel like, well, I heard someone's story, or I heard someone say that overnight they were, cured of a disease, or they, God took away their craving for alcohol or whatever, and it's like, that's not the case for everyone. And even if that was the case, and that doesn't mean that they were just better. They still had their walk and their journey to go on with God, even the next day they woke up. Even if the cravings were taken away, that doesn't mean their life just all of a sudden magically got back together. I'm sure that there's pieces that still had to be picked up along the way, and healing and growth and transformation. And transformation sometimes is not easy. Look at how when people work out, you think that there's not days where they're in pain, or that they have to mentally battle with themselves to get up and exercise. You don't think that there's days where they just don't want to and they want to quit. They don't get those bodies, from exercise without doing the work. And some days it's hard, you know, and some days it's painful, and some days you're really sore, and some days mentally you're tired or you don't want to deal with it, or you're, struggling. Transformation requires work sometimes, and sacrifice, and putting in the work. And sometimes it's not fun along the way. But I don't know. I had to share all that. So I'm done. Okay, let's go into today's chapters.
Hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel, for the Lord brings a charge against the inhabitants of the land. There is no truth or mercy or knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying, killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break all restraint, with bloodshed upon bloodshed. Therefore the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells there will waste away, with the beasts of the field and the birds of the air. Even the fish of the sea will be taken away. Now let no man contend or rebuke another, for your people are like those who contend with the priest. Therefore you shall stumble in the day. The prophet also shall stumble with you in the night, and I will destroy your mother. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I also will reject you from being priest for me. Because you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children. The more they increased, the more they sinned against me. I will change their glory into shame. They eat up the sin of my people. They set their heart on their iniquity. And it shall be, like people, like priest. So I will punish them for their ways, and reward them for their deeds. For they shall eat, but not have enough. They shall commit harlotry, but not increase, because they have ceased obeying the Lord. Harlotry, wine, and new wine enslave the heart. My people ask counsel from their wooden idols, and their staff informs them. For the spirit of harlotry has caused them to stray, and they have played the harlot against their God. They offer sacrifices on the mountaintops, and burn incense on the hills, under oaks, poplars, and terebinths, because their shade is good. Therefore your daughters commit harlotry, and your brides commit adultery. I will not punish your daughters when they commit harlotry, nor your brides when they commit adultery. For the men themselves go apart with harlots, and offer sacrifices with a ritual harlot. Therefore people who do not understand will be trampled. Though you, Israel, play the harlot, let not Judah offend. Do not come up to Gilgal, nor go up to Beth-aven, nor swear an oath, saying, As the Lord lives. For Israel is stubborn, like a stubborn calf. Now the Lord will let them forage like a lamb in open country. Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone. Their drink is rebellion. They commit harlotry continually. Her rulers dearly love dishonor. The wind has wrapped her up in its wings, and they shall be ashamed because of their sacrifices. Hear this, O priests. Take heed, O house of Israel. Give ear, O house of the king. For yours is the judgment, because you have been a snare to Mizpah and a net spread on Tabor. The revolters are deeply involved in slaughter, though I rebuke them all. I know Ephraim, and Israel is not hidden from me. For now, O Ephraim, you commit harlotry. Israel is defiled. They do not direct their deeds toward turning to their God, for the spirit of harlotry is in their midst, and they do not know the Lord. The pride of Israel testifies to his face. Therefore Israel and Ephraim stumble in their iniquity. Judah also stumbles with them. With their flocks and herds, they shall go to seek the Lord, but they will not find him. He has withdrawn himself from them. They have dealt treacherously with the Lord, for they have begotten pagan children. Now a new moon shall devour them and their heritage. Blow the ram's horn in Gibeah, the trumpet in Ramah. Cry aloud at Beth-aven. Look behind you, O Benjamin. Ephraim shall be desolate in the day of rebuke. Among the tribes of Israel I make known what is sure. The princes of Judah are like those who remove a landmark. I will pour out my wrath on them like water. Ephraim is oppressed and broken in judgment, because he willingly walked by human precept. Therefore I will be to Ephraim like a moth, and to the house of Judah like rottenness. When Ephraim saw his sickness, and Judah saw his wound, then Ephraim went to Assyria and sent to King Jareb. Yet he cannot cure you, nor heal you of your wound. For I will be like a lion to Ephraim, and like a young lion to the house of Judah. I, even I, will tear them and go away. I will take them away, and no one shall rescue. I will return again to my place, till they acknowledge their offense. Then they will seek my face. In their affliction, they will earnestly seek me. Come, and let us return to the Lord, for he has torn, but he will heal us. He has stricken, but he will bind us up. After 2 days, he will revive us. On the third day, he will raise us up, that we may live in his sight. Let us know, let us pursue the knowledge of the Lord. His going forth is established as the morning. He will come to us like the rain, like the latter and former rain to the earth. O Ephraim, what shall I do to you? O Judah, what shall I do to you? For your faithfulness is like a morning cloud, and like the early dew it goes away. Therefore I have hewn them by the prophets. I have slain them by the words of my mouth, and your judgments are like light that goes forth. For I desire mercy and not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. But like men they transgressed the covenant. There they dealt treacherously with me. Gilead is a city of evildoers and defiled with blood. As bands of robbers lie in wait for a man, so the company of priests murder on the way to Shechem. Surely they commit lewdness. I have seen a horrible thing in the house of Israel. There is the harlotry of Ephraim. Israel is defiled. Also, O Judah, a harvest is appointed for you when I return the captives of my people. When I would have healed Israel, then the iniquity of Ephraim was uncovered, and the wickedness of Samaria. For they have committed fraud. A thief comes in, a band of robbers takes spoil outside. They do not consider in their hearts that I remember all their wickedness. Now their own deeds have surrounded them. They are before my face. They make a king glad with their wickedness, and princes with their lies. They are all adulterers. Like an oven heated by a baker, he ceases stirring the fire after kneading the dough until it is leavened. In the day of our king, princes have made him sick, inflamed with wine. He stretched out his hand with scoffers. They prepare their heart like an oven while they lie in wait. Their baker sleeps all night. In the morning it burns like a flaming fire. They are all hot like an oven and have devoured their judges. All their kings have fallen. None among them calls upon me. Ephraim has mixed himself among the peoples. Ephraim is a cake unturned. Aliens have devoured his strength, but he does not know it. Yes, gray hairs are here and there on him, yet he does not know it. And the pride of Israel testifies to his face, but they do not return to the Lord their God, nor seek him for all this. Ephraim also is like a silly dove, without sense. They call to Egypt, they go to Assyria. Wherever they go, I will spread my net on them. I will bring them down like birds of the air. I will chastise them according to what their congregation has heard. Woe to them, for they have fled from me. Destruction to them, because they have transgressed against me. Though I redeemed them, yet they have spoken lies against me. They did not cry out to me with their heart when they wailed upon their beds. They assembled together for grain and new wine. They rebel against me. Though I disciplined and strengthened their arms, yet they devise evil against me. They return, but not to the Most High. They are like a treacherous bow. Their princes shall fall by the sword for the cursings of their tongue. This shall be their derision in the land of Egypt. Set the trumpet to your mouth. He shall come like an eagle against the house of the Lord, because they have transgressed my covenant and rebelled against my law. Israel will cry to me, "My God, we know you." Israel has rejected the good. The enemy will pursue him. They set up kings, but not by me. They made princes, but I did not acknowledge them. From their silver and gold, they made idols for themselves, that they might be cut off. Your calf is rejected, O Samaria. My anger is aroused against them. How long until they attain to innocence? For from Israel is even this: a workman made it, and it is not God. But the calf of Samaria shall be broken to pieces. They sow the wind and reap the whirlwind. The stalk has no bud. It shall never produce meal. If it should produce, aliens would swallow it up. Israel is swallowed up. Now they are among the Gentiles, like a vessel in which is no pleasure. For they have gone up to Assyria, like a wild donkey alone by itself. Ephraim has hired lovers. Yes, though they have hired among the nations, now I will gather them, and they shall sorrow a little because of the burden of the king of princes. Because Ephraim has made many altars for sin, they have become for him altars for sinning. I have written for him the great things of my law, but they were considered a strange thing. For the sacrifices of my offerings, they sacrifice flesh and eat it, but the Lord does not accept them. Now he will remember their iniquity and punish their sins. They shall return to Egypt. For Israel has forgotten his maker and has built temples. Judah also has multiplied fortified cities. But I will send fire upon his cities, and it shall devour his palaces. Do not rejoice, O Israel, with joy like other peoples, for you have played the harlot against your God. You have made love for hire on every threshing floor. The threshing floor and the winepress shall not feed them, and the new wine shall fail in her. They shall not dwell in the Lord's land, but Ephraim shall return to Egypt, and shall eat unclean things in Assyria. They shall not offer wine offerings to the Lord, nor shall their sacrifices be pleasing to him. It shall be like bread of mourners to them. All who eat it shall be defiled, for their bread shall be for their own life. It shall not come into the house of the Lord. What will you do in the appointed day, and in the day of the feast of the Lord? For indeed they are gone because of destruction. Egypt shall gather them up. Memphis shall bury them. Nettles shall possess their valuables of silver. Thorns shall be in their tents. The days of punishment have come. The days of recompense have come. Israel knows. The prophet is a fool. The spiritual man is insane because of the greatness of your iniquity and great enmity. The watchman of Ephraim is with my God, but the prophet is a fowler's snare in all his ways, enmity in the house of his God. They are deeply corrupted, as in the days of Gibeah. He will remember their iniquity. He will punish their sins. I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as the first fruits on the fig tree in its first season. But they went to Baal Peor and separated themselves to that shame. They became an abomination, like the thing they loved. As for Ephraim, their glory shall fly away like a bird. No birth, no pregnancy, and no conception. Though they bring up their children, yet I will bereave them to the last man. Yes, woe to them when I depart from them. Just as I saw Ephraim like Tyre, planted in a pleasant place, so Ephraim will bring out his children to the murderer. Give them, O Lord, what will you give? Give them a miscarrying womb and dry breasts. All their wickedness is in Gilgal, for there I hated them. Because of the evil of their deeds, I will drive them from my house. I will love them no more. All their princes are rebellious. Ephraim is stricken, their root is dried up. They shall bear no fruit. Yes, were they to bear children, I would kill the darlings of their womb. My God will cast them away, because they did not obey him, and they shall be wanderers among the nations.
I'd be lying if I didn't say I've followed everything. For the most part, I think I understood what was going on. Basically, they're just talking about like punishing, right? The 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 people that, you know, were playing around, playing harlotry with God. I feel like that's the gist of what these chapters are. But I don't know, I could be wrong. It's hard sometimes to follow along because like I get like distracted. Also too, I was thinking, I was like, oh man, I really love like this lady's voice and then like the music in the back. And it's just so nice and calming that sometimes I just get like I get distracted. But I'm trying to, develop a habit of actually reading without the voice and the music, just reading the Bible myself, like in the morning. So stay tuned. I'm working on that. Um, I was starting to before the holidays, and then the holidays got me all messed up. And it wasn't even so much the holidays, it was also just because my husband's been home because he got laid off. And so that really upset our routine because me and my daughter, we had like our own routine um, during the days and stuff. So it just kind of messed me up a lot. But hopefully, by God's grace, my husband will be getting a job soon. So wish us luck. Pray for us and stay tuned. And if you have any thoughts on today's chapter, then let me know. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the remainder of Hosea because it's a really short book. And then it's going to start on another book, um, Joel or something like that. I don't know. I think it starts with like a J. I'm trying to remember. But yes, Hosea is like a pretty short book. So we'll be done with it tomorrow. But anyways, see you guys tomorrow. Bye.